Going through numerous papers while evaluating the answers, we thought of framing a model answer for, let's say, one of the topics, which is organic farming. Now, in this lecture, we would understand what things you must incorporate while you are writing your answer, how to start, what to conclude with. To have an introduction first, understand it this way that organic farming is nothing but future that dates back to past. So we are using again the primitive, the past, the ancient techniques in our futuristic mode of agriculture, and through that way we are attaining the goals of organic farming. Now, organic farming is not a new concept. It has been into existence since civilizations and across regions, across territories. We would understand that in a while. But how our traditional agricultural system has surpassed the modern agriculture? So, to begin with, let's understand the drawbacks of modern agriculture. So, under modern agriculture, there is issues of contamination. There are issues related to higher use of pesticides, fungicides, insecticides, damage to the farm products, damage to individuals. There are cases of water logging, unequal distribution of water, issues related to salinity, improper specialization, and health hazard, not only for the agricultural workers but also for the people who are consuming those products. In order to curtail all these, what we have is organic farming. So here is a standard definition given by World Board, and that was in 2008 in Genova, in Vigilona in Italy. And this definition says that organic agriculture sustains the health of the soil, ecosystem, as well as the people. It relies on natural ecological processes, biodiversity, and adapts well to the local condition. It also focuses on maximization of inputs and optimization of inputs. So those are some of the key points, and along with tradition, innovation, and science can be combined to promote good and better organic development. Now, what is organic farming? So organic farming actually requires no chemical fertilizer. It uses only organic resources, so it could be cow manure, cow dung, cow urine. It reduces the soil loss, provides in larger biodiversity in terms of flora and fauna, increases the soil matter by all means, increases water holding capacity, decreases the water consumption levels, and does not require any genetically modified cropping pattern. So the focus is input optimization rather than output maximization. So the focus is not on maximizing the output but on optimizing the inputs. So that is what is organic farming about. Now, when we talk about the key components of organic farming, we take into account five different elements. Those are biodiversity. So it can be enhanced through crop rotation, green manure, cover cropping, composting, intercropping, farm escaping. Diversification through rotation, composting, intercropping, and mulching. Sustainability again by the following methods that we have talked about. Natural plant nutrition again by composting, animal and green manure. Natural pest management, mainly tillage, fire control, and natural pesticides, and then this all leads to better integrity. If we talk about the worldwide scenario in organic farming, we can see a huge proportion of organic farming is there in Latin America with 4.9 million hectares of land. Excuse me. In Europe it is 7.4, in Asia it is 3.1, Australia at a further high of 12.4 million hectares of land. So that is a substantially high proportion within the developed and the developing nations. Now, if we look onto the chart, China is one of the leading top 10 nations with highest organic land under cultivation. This data is as per 2006. You can further use latest data. And India is also a way above others. So it's 0.5. So it's decimal. It's wrongly given as comma here. So it's decimal. Okay. So India is somewhere around 0.5 million hectares. which is a significantly good amount. Now, this was a general introduction about organic farming. When you are writing your answer, case studies become important. Now, if we understand globally, there can be various kind of case studies based on the local climatic parameters. So, we have incorporated some of the case studies. The first case study internationally is from Thailand. Here, organic liquid fertilizer is used, and this is made by fermentation of the fish and meat. The food for this fish and meat, cattle from which we get the meat, is derived through the farms where there is no chemical or antibiotics used, and it is totally free of chemicals. The food that is given to those cattle and poultry is free of chemicals. Also, the water is taken from deep underground below the mountain range, which is directly potable water or drinkable water. So therefore this region has survived highly on organic farming. Similarly, in the cases of Kenya, we have seen double digging as a common method. There is another case of rice duck farming. Now this is again an interesting case of organic farming study seen in areas of Southeast Asia. Then we have the chakra system. Now this system is an organic farming by the indigenous people in Ecuador. So Ecuador again has one good example. So rather than mentioning a lot about it, even if you mention the highlights of those and the traditional indigenous systems in the local areas, that's great. The next is the Tasa method. It is seen in the Sahel region, mainly across the Niger River, and the concept is digging up of these holes. Now what is the benefit of these holes? These holes are known as Tasa and therefore known as the Tasa method. These are also known as Taska, and these digged holes are surrounded by little dams on the sides, and this actually helps in increasing the infiltration of the water, prevents any water runoff or waterlogging situation, and therefore is highly beneficial to the soil. This is one of the indigenous techniques which is used in the regions of Africa, and it was primitively done with stone rows, which was created with the application of dry manure along with these rows, which is created. So that is another important case study from Africa, which is known as the Tasa method. Normal production of cereals, sorghum, millet, leguminous crops usually occur in this region. Coming on to India, include the latest happenings. So recently, yesterday's newspaper had a focus on Dang, which is one of the districts of Gujarat. As you can see here in the eastern region, here we have the Dang district in Gujarat, which is 100% organically farmed now and is one of the first in the western India to be declared. It is one of the major tribal districts, and what is cultivated is mainly rice and millet. Millet in the name of Nagali is the local millet which is cultivated here, and these basically the farmer here use indigenous practices of using cow dung and cow urine. The socio-economic condition of the farmers help them to use these widely. Along with Dang district, there are two important talukas. One is in the Valsad and the other is in the Vansad. Both of these districts have two taluka, which is Dharmpur and Kaprada. Dharmpur and Kaprada are also working in order to be covered under 100% organic farming. So definitely one of the major case studies, Sikkim is one of the first states in India to be declared as an organic farming state. But yes, we have been adopting these not only in this district but also in Panchmahal, Dahod, Chota Udaipur. We have the regions of Narmada, Surat, Tapti, Navsari. All the regions towards the eastern side in Gujarat are working towards reducing and minimizing the use of chemicals. Next interesting case study is from Kotumundakam. This is again a region in Kerala. This system in Kerala basically focuses on various methods of organic farming. The first is destruction of any collateral weeds or hosts, spraying fresh cow dung which is extracted, which is sprayed on the plants to control the bacterial leaf blight. Then drainage of water from the fields in order to control the case worms. Usage of Pseudomonas florens, and this is mainly for seed treatment and controlling the fungal disorders. Neem cakes are used to control insects. Then insect pheromones are used, which are mainly the hexadecatlon and hexadecimal. Then we are also using light traps. So it is an interesting case where mixed cropping is usually seen, and this Kotu-Mundakan system has interesting case studies of organic farming converting into a kind of photosensitive wet variety with a short life variety, and this enhances the prospects in the region for organic farming. So as we saw in Thailand, it was mainly the liquid fertilizer from the fermentation of fish and meat. However, in India, it is from cow dung, cow urine. In regions of Africa, we have seen the TASA system. So there are various ways through which organic farming are promoted under different regions. But there are definite problems with organic farming. What are those? We need to address that as well in our answer if it is asked, or if we are talking about the benefits of modern agriculture. We need to address how organic farming and modern agriculture have been substantially different. Some of the major problems. First is cost. We need to bring this cost at par with the synthetic fertilizer. So any organic fertilizer should be at par in terms of cost with the synthetic or the chemical fertilizer. The second is lack of technique. Lack of skilled and indigenous people who can traditionally work on different things. So traditional systems, people who are acquainted to traditional systems and traditional practices are now lack. There is marginal soil conditions which can be affecting the development. Also, there are issues related to climate change, dry climatic conditions, smaller size of field where organic farming can actually not be that beneficial. Also, lack of expertise. So lack of experienced manpower who can handle professionally. Also, lack of familiarity with the international market, lack of technology to be used, poor negotiation power of the farmers with the exporters. So those are some of the major factors that affect the organic farming and is one of the major drawbacks in good development of organic farming in countries like India, where we indigenously have lots and lots of traditional organic farming methods. So then we also focus on the government schemes which is there to promote the organic farming, which is Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana is one of the examples that you can cite. So in this lecture, the main idea was what are the key things that we usually miss while answer writing. As we addressed in this section, we have to bring in a global picture. In which region, how much percentage of organic farming is seen? What are the leading nations? What are the major factors that can actually address the issue of organic farming? The major case studies internationally and nationally. Within national case studies, we have seen variation as we have seen in the case studies of Dang in Gujarat versus that in Kerala. So that is another important thing that we addressed. And finally, the problems that we face with organic farming. So this was a general outlook about what kind of topics and what kind of content you have to incorporate while answer writing in your UPSC mains. And definitely those who have been sending the answers, I have been regularly providing you a personalized one-on-one feedback call for all the answers. In case you still have any questions or doubts, feel free to post those in the comment below this video. I'll be more than happy to resolve your doubts. Thank you.